Good morning. I am Tanny Reed Walker, and welcome to Monday Morning. It is July 27th, 2020. This week, we are going to continue talking about grief and loss. Last week, we talked about family. And this week, we are talking about friends. I was going to try to do a poll. Here we go. I would like to actually ask how much your friendships have changed. If you can answer that poll, that would be interesting. Hi, Charisma. Thanks for letting me know you're here. If anybody else wants to let me know they're here, that's awesome. If you have any comments or questions you'd like to share in the chat, that would be awesome. Also, you can check out the poll that I've put up. Trying something new and would like to be a little bit more interactive. So I have beside me one of my favorite books, It's Okay That You're Not Okay. This one is by Megan Devine. She has the book on audio. I've seen her on, I think, YouTube. She has a wonderful, wonderful website called Refuge in Grief. And actually, it's something that I would love to recommend that you send friends and family to, because there is a section for people who are supporting someone who is grieving, and there's also a section for you as a griever. So it's really lovely that it has supports for all the people, and she really addresses what's happening for people in early grief, because early grief is very different than later grief. After human beings are really adaptable, and we adapt to the pain of loss more often than not over time. So it shifts and it changes and it ebbs and it flows. And early grief is a lot of pain. I think I've talked about difference between pain and suffering before in a prior video. I'll have to check into that, because maybe that's a conversation we'll need to have at another time. So just so you know, I am a counselor with FCSS in the Barons-Rico-Warner area. I primarily work out of Tabor, but with this COVID situation, I am able to take clients in all areas now, because we are doing online and telephone counseling. So if you need more support, please look up www.fcss.ca, and you can connect with all kinds of supports. We have supports for all ages and stages of life. I just want to be supportive for you. Okay, so friendships. My poll question is, how much has, I think my English might not be great there. So how much has your friendships changed? So I have not at all. I have the same support people, and I've seen that very rarely, but it does happen occasionally. Somewhat, a few people have left and a few people have shown up. Somewhat, a few people have faded out. So you might not have any new people, but you have some that have disappeared. And completely, there is no one left from my old life. Personally, I have found, not necessarily from loss through death, but from other losses, that what happens for me is pretty much there is a complete change. I think it's because I change so completely when I have something as massive, like a huge loss that happens in my life. I think it changes me a lot. And the thing about friendships is friendships are based on things that we do, our roles in those friendships, who we are to the people in our world. So if I had friends and our friendships was totally based on going camping every summer and hanging out and partying together or something like that, having a massive loss in my life would absolutely change that completely. Those friends were based strictly on fun. So if you have friends that are very fun and you spend a lot of time together, but you don't talk about deep issues, you're just having a good time, You might be really surprised to find out that those friends just disappear because you're not that fun anymore and you haven't developed that level of deep connection. You might find out that you have friends that will be really supportive and are surprisingly empathetic and understanding. I found even today I was posting something on my personal Facebook page, and then I was looking through and I found out some information about somebody that I know fairly superficially, but through conversations on Facebook and things, we've like the relationship's gotten deeper because we've known a little bit more vulnerable stuff about each other. But it just got a little bit more deeper again today as she shared something about her life. And it's interesting because I was like, I barely know this woman, but I feel like if something huge happened in her life or my life, I would call her. And I think that happens a great deal with friendships. But it's also really painful to have those secondary losses. When you are at your most vulnerable and you're used to phoning or talking to somebody every day and suddenly they just disappear, it's really painful. Or if they don't understand what grief is like, or they've never had the opportunity to learn how to be around somebody who's grieving, it's so uncomfortable for them, they'll just fade away. And the person that's already lost somebody that's very important to them now loses all those extra people. It's a huge secondary loss. And I am so sorry that this is happening, if this is happening to you. I've spoken in other videos about this time of mourning creates this space. And in this space, we like the world, the like time kind of stops for us. Everybody else is still carrying on. Everybody's doing their things and interpreting things in their own way. But we are stopping and we're all of a sudden analyzing our whole entire lives. We're analyzing who's going to take the garbage out. We're analyzing what does our future look like now. We're analyzing so many things, like what's my role in the world? What's the purpose? Why did this happen? There's so many questions. And so it makes sense that every single aspect of your life is going to be affected. And that includes your friendships. You're going to stop and analyze these friendships. And the ones that disappear, it's going to hurt and you're going to analyze them. Why did these people abandon me? Where is everybody? Why are people not paying attention to me? And people are afraid, and people don't do what we used to do when our communities were really, really tight knit. You were forced to continue interacting with people who lost their loved ones. We have a comment from Charisma. She says, someone could have lost a parent that they've had a good relationship with and not understand why someone else would have a different grieving process. If they had a negative relationship with their parent, it would impact their friendship. Yeah, that's very true, Charisma, because we're all going to filter our grief experience through our relationship experience. So if you haven't had a good relationship with that person in your life, so if it was my mom and wasn't a good relationship, and then you lost your mom and you were so close to your mom, I'm not going to understand. I'm going to be like, what's the big deal? I've lived my whole life without my mom. And then the other person's going to be like, I've lived my whole life with my mom. So yeah, thanks. That's a really good way to put that. Everyone's interpreting things through their own. The other thing about friends is friends are usually really fun. And we don't like to see our friends hurting. So the best thing to do in lots of friends' minds is to help nudge them along. Like, come on, let's get over this tough part and have some fun. So there's friends that are going to be like that. There's friends that are going to be, okay, I'm here with you. I know that everything's changed, but I care about you and I care about our friendship, and we're going to be able to carry on. And it's really interesting to watch what happens with friendships. But it's also really hard, especially in the time of social media. Oh my gosh, social media. So you have a friend who's ignoring you, and then you're seeing, oops, my book fell. You're seeing that, wow, they're having a really good time. It's summertime right now here in southern Alberta. Maybe they've gone boating, maybe they're camping, and you used to be involved in that. And you didn't really want to go, but you sure would have liked to have been invited. And it's like you've dropped off the face of the earth. And what do you do in that situation? So I'm wondering, anyone who's watching, what have you done? Sometimes that quiet space where you're not sure which friends are where or who, it's actually reaching out, whether it's a little text message or a little phone call, anything. I know lots of people feel really abandoned, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you're experiencing this secondary loss. Sometimes it's couple part. So if you're a couple and your partner has passed away, you've lost your couple friends because they don't know what to do. Like, he used to talk to her and she used to talk to him, and now there's just three. And yeah, it can be really hard. So please reach out. Please, please, please reach out, because we need to talk about what's going on for us. I've also mentioned in some of the other videos the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I've seen this a lot. Obviously, this isn't going to be every single person's experience. I'm curious to know what your experience is, so if you would like to share, please do. 1/3 are people who are just going to be like neutral. They're not going to hurt your feelings. They're just kind of there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they're not making your life better. They're not making it worse. They're just there. 1/3 of people are going to be hurtful. They're not going to, I'm not blaming them, but they're not going to know how to handle your grief. They're not going to know how to handle their own grief. They're just either going to say things that are super painful because they want you to move out of it, they want you to be better, or they're just going to disappear and they're going to kind of re-break your heart some more. And then there's a 1/3 that are going to be supportive. And that's the 1/3 to turn towards. Start making that 1/3 expand in your world, so that the first 1/3, I don't know, they might be okay to kind of keep in your world a little bit here and there. The 1/3 that's toxic, if they're toxic now, it might be a really long time before they can become non-toxic. They might experience their own loss in the future and then all of a sudden go, I can't even believe how I was with you. I'm so sorry. And they might come back. But right now it's about you. You are what's important right now. Your friends, if they're good friends, they will let you lean on them. And then when you need them, you can lean on them. That's how we find out. And then moving on, you could find out maybe you want to have some more friends that are just for fun. But it's learning what is this friend's role? What are their role in my life? What is my role in their life? I find sometimes really, really strong people who are like really supportive, and they're the ones all the people go to for support. When they lose somebody and all of a sudden they're the ones that are needing extra care and they're the ones that need people to listen to them, those people are often the most brokenhearted because all of those friends that they supported can't handle it. They can't handle this new role. They didn't ask for this new role. and so they have no idea what to do. Sort of a fruit fly there. Charisma. I was a toxic friend until I experienced my own loss. Yeah, because we don't know about loss. How did you change, Charisma, after that? Do you want to share what changed for you? You don't have to, of course, but yeah, experience. We don't, one of my friends, she's told me, she's like, we don't know until we know. So people can tell us, but until we actually experience things, we don't know. It's kind of like childbirth classes. They can give you all this information, but you don't know what that experience is going to be like until you do it. It's like, I remember when my kids, I'm telling them, you guys got to learn how to drive. Driving is amazing. You get so much freedom. You can go anywhere you want. You're just not trapped. You have autonomy. You can work in many more places. There's so many opportunities. And they're learning how to drive, and it's awkward, and mom is sitting beside them, and maybe I might yell a little bit here and there when I'm freaked out. Or like jerking, all the things, and they're thinking, this is torturous. I don't like driving. I'm like, seriously, you're gonna love driving. And then they get their license finally. They've gone through the pain of learning how to drive and the judgment and the exam and all of the things, and then suddenly they're driving and they're like, wow, this is awesome. I'm free. So that's a kind of fun experience to talk about. But when it comes to every person, we have no idea what other people are going through. And lots of times we don't even know that we're being toxic. We're just trying to help them move on, get over it, change. How can this be a big deal? And like Charisma had said earlier, maybe their relationship with their person that died was not the same as a similar relationship that you have. So it's difficult. So she said, I realized what I needed while I was grieving and apologized to the people I didn't support in their loss. And going forward, I know how to be better dealing with grief. Thank you, Charisma. Yeah, that's why I had said the 1/3 that's really toxic and painful, they might end up coming back to you because they don't know they're being toxic and painful. Everyone's heard things they're supposed to say or seen movies or all kinds of like different ways on media of how we're supposed to move forward. And our stories that we talk about, like even the movies, I'm watching a show and it's called Afterlife, and Ricky Gervais is the star of it. And it's after his wife passed away from cancer. And it's painful. And yet, of course, the story doesn't show the first period where he's in so much pain, but you hear about it and he starts to grow and change, which is lovely. But learning how to cope in that time before you're even able to go forward, all that going back time, all of that pain, we don't really know and talk about how to deal with that. So our friends not knowing how to deal and talk about that is a big deal. And please know it's not you. It's so not you. It's their own thing. And even knowing that, I'm sure, doesn't help very much, but I hope it helps even just a tiny bit. So how do you let people know? I know it's really, really cruddy that we have to tell people how to support us during our grief. So there's a few ways to do it. One is hand them that website that I talked about by Megan Devine, Refuge in Grief. If they're a supportive person and they're like, I don't even know what to say or do, I don't even know. Just say, here's a website. Hand them a piece of paper, write on it. Say, I don't know, her name is Megan something. It's okay just give them some ideas, vaguely even, about something that they can look up to help you. She's got such good resources. Dr. Alan Wolfelt, I've talked about him lots. I don't know if I have a book super handy. Oh, I've got one of his books. This one's Companioning the Grieving Child. Oh, spoiler alert, the next couple sessions are going to be about companioning the grieving child. So that's a thing. Talk to them about that. I know there's something I talk about in grief groups, and it's making a list of things that you need. I know it would be so good if people would just figure out what you need or what kind of tasks you need done. And it's so hard for us to ask for any help. But if there's anybody in your world that you can sit down with and say, hey, can you help me make a list for people so when they ask me, if you need anything, give me a call. Or can you be the person for me that calls and organizes this? You came to my house today and you saw that the lawn's not getting mowed. And like, do you know anybody, or if anybody asks, can you say, hey, yeah, they actually need the lawn mowed? It's such a hard thing to think about what you need when you're in the middle of grief, because you just kind of want to stay under your covers or just sit by a tree. Like it's just so overwhelming. So if you have anybody in your life that is supportive, have them sit down with you and let them help you. I know it's hard. We feel like we should muscle through and just be able to do. And it's super hard to ask people, and it's super hard to be a burden. But that is why we are pack animals. We're designed to stand there and be supportive when somebody else needs to be leaning. And that's what really good friendships are based on, is being able to do both those things. What else can you do? Well, you can be a friend to yourself. You can order, like if flowers make you happy, order flowers to be delivered once a week. Or if somebody says, is there something I can do, have them order flowers for you once a week. Try so hard when the people do reach out to nail them down just to a task. There's going to be some people who are like, oh my goodness, we should totally get together. And then that's it. If they aren't trying to nail down a time, or they aren't saying when they're going to call, you try to just assume they're not going to, and then be pleasantly surprised if they do. Friendships are very tricky. Family is very tricky. Relationships are very tricky. And in this time and space, you're going to be analyzing and learning so much about friends and family and who you are. And be kind to yourself. It's exhausting. And every time you hear yourself, why are they avoiding me? What's wrong with me? What did I do? Please hear my voice. It's not you. It's how they're interpreting the events. They don't understand. They don't have the capacity. Maybe it might just hit so close to their own hearts and their own complicated grief, or their own grief that they haven't worked through in their own time, and it's going to bring things up. And I'm so sorry that it's happening to you. You are worth the time and the patience. And I'm so sorry that you have other people that have left. My husband's father passed away 2 years ago. And he wasn't very close to his father's side of the family. And he reconnected with his sisters. He reconnected with a beautiful aunt. I had no idea who she was, but as soon as I saw them together, it was like such love between them. And so now they're all connected in a new way, and I'm so grateful for that. And he's grateful for that. So that, and then also a cousin and her husband. And so they're family, but we've also made friends. And those relationships are deeper than some of the other friends that actually did fade away when his father died. So if you have any stories about friends, friends who left, friends that faded away, new friends that came, any family, please share. You can share with me and say I can't share with other people. You can share with me so that I can share with other people anonymously. I just really would appreciate your story getting told. And I would like to think that we can create a good, safe place for that to happen. So once again, I want to thank you for watching this video, whether you watched it live or you watched it as a replay. I hope that you take care of your heart and check out some of the resources if you have time. I am gone next week, but I will have a pre-made video, and it's going to be I don't know, I seem to love the number 3. I found out like recently 3 seems to be a great number I always pick. So I'll probably do 3 videos in a row about companioning children through grief, because there's a lot of discomfort with having children experience grief, and we don't really know a lot of how to deal with that. And then they respond differently depending on their age and their stage and their temperament. So I'm hoping that the next few videos will totally be about that. Next week for sure will be a companioning children video. I hope that, again, you are kind to yourself. As long as you keep with that compassion for yourself, you'll be able to have more compassion for others. But right now, you're the absolutely most important person. So, until later, take care. Thanks for watching.